Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Women don't approach relationships the same way as men. Now, of course, people might say, oh, Rom, yeah, that's obvious, but I want people to think about this. Men especially should think about this because often men will hit me up privately, do videos on it, and question why men, rather women, aren't doing something the same way as men or thinking the same way, and especially approaching relationships. And even though I'm thinking, well, they're women, they're going to do stuff differently. Many men don't really seem to grasp that concept. Indeed, many men might think, like, men in general are more left brain, which means, thinking in a logical, rational, straightforward way. That's what we're supposed to do. Whereas women, they're more right brain, maybe looking at the entire picture of stuff. And that's supposed to how it's supposed to be. Like, men and women just think differently. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why we're all here. We're supposed to. Because despite what even some hardcore feminists will say, men and women are not alike. That should be obvious. That should be down to biology. When, I'll use the feminist example. It's like, well, if men can do it, we can do it. But biologically, we're not the same. That should be obvious. Men can't have babies. Men can't nurture a baby, physically nurture a baby with their chest. Now, it might seem like common sense, but I'm like, no. And all of that is going down to the biology of the species. The other day, I was at my door. Someone was leaving. I was talking with him, and in the tree in my front yard, there's a bird's nest, good sized bird. I forgot what type it is, but it's a good sized bird. And the mother bird was feeding her babies. Like, usually a bird might fly away if a human comes too close. The bird was like, whatever, I gotta feed my kids. But that's just nature. That's just nature, And something I remember my grandmother saying decades ago about just the nature of women and children. She said, if a mother has two children, it could be two girls. One could be real feminine, real compliant, everything like that. And the other one can act like a boy. But the mother has to love both of them. Part of a woman's nature is to, be able to mother all of her children, even if they're different, even if they're not behaving according to some logic or some rationality. Indeed, that's a part of the feminine nature, to nurture, to deal with whatever conditions that the children have. That's it, seriously. They're going to be different. They're not going to behave according to what some man might think they're going to behave according to. Yes, the man can train them up and everything, can train them based on how we think. And that's still important. Like, both sides are important. Like the mother, they nurture the children when they're young, take care of them, deal with their different personalities. But then as they get older, the father, that's when he becomes more prominent. That's when he's saying, okay, this is how you navigate in the world. But even then, even if he's dealing with girl children, they still want to be a certain way. But that's what keeps the human race going. And, too many guys will be like, well, they ain't thinking like this. How come they doing this? They're not, that's how women do. Like, when a man looks at a woman for mating, we're not thinking about a whole lot. We're not thinking about a whole lot. We're thinking in that logical, rational way of, I have this going on. I have this going on. I have this good job. I got, I might look a certain way, things of that nature. Okay. But as we know out here, if we operated according to that way of thinking overall, oh yeah, I wouldn't be talking about relationships now. Everything would just be perfect. We wouldn't have the issues. But see, women, just by their nature, they're looking at way more things. They're looking at things that we're not thinking about. Like some of the stuff I can share with how a woman's checking out a man and everything, I had to get that from women. Because there's still, even to this day, sometimes a woman will say something and hit me with something new. I was like, I ain't think about that. You know, I did a video last week. Remember I did that video with Amadi, and she started talking about pheromones. Now, men have talked about that, but it's some real stuff. You know, it's important to, shoot, you gotta smell good, because when a woman's looking at a guy, think about something. Let's back it up back to that having children thing. When a woman, she's checking out everything about a man. And not even so much how he looked, but his behavior, how he's built, everything, how he smells, how his posture, stuff like that. But then also, okay, is he showing a willingness to take care of the children on a deep level? There's so many things. Or is he going to be physically ruthless to protect the family? And that's going beyond even what they're thinking about consciously. And that's just it. But what's the purpose of that? When a woman's having a baby, when she's carrying a child, she's not at her strongest. She's in a more weakened state. When she has the baby, she's nursing and everything. She wants to be in a more passive state. She wants that man who's going to protect. Think about the atom. The atom has that one dot in the middle and then the other dot going around. That woman is the dot in the middle. She wants to stay still. That's the ultimate yin. The ultimate yang is to move. And that's just nature. It's just nature. We just think differently. Now, understand something. The real key to any relationship is understanding and respecting that each one thinks differently, but being complementary to each other. Now, that could be a whole nother video, that's a whole different perspective, but it's just the nature. See, it's just women's nature. It's nothing wrong with them. See, a lot of men want women to, deep down, I'm gonna tell you what, a lot of men want, basically, they want that person with the breastises and the butt dunk and the female anatomy to basically think like a man. And now, of course, there was that famous book by Steve Harvey talking about thinking like a man, but that was whack. Women don't think like a man. They don't need to. They don't need to. Most of us wouldn't be here if women were thinking like men, you know? Because part of a woman's thing is bonding with a man, and it might not go according to a man's logic. So you got to think about all of that and just accept it. Just accept it. Think differently. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Shoot, there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's how the human race is keeping going. You know? It's how the human race is still here. And it's just nature. Some of the things, I don't care what the political system is, what the philosophy is, some things are just nature and just has to be accepted. So, you know, for many men who want to say, well, how come the women ain't doing this or that? It's like, because they're women. Let them do their thing. You know? Let them do their thing. Don't get mad at them. Just understand it. Indeed, I've said before in videos, I said if a woman started actually thinking logically, because they got their logical side, they got their pragmatic side, just like men got an emotional side. It's just dominant. It's just not as dominant, you know? Their pragmatic side isn't the dominant thing. Our emotional side isn't the dominant thing. Usually there's issues when that's the case. But you just got to just think about it. If women were like thinking totally like men, thinking the same way, oh, it'll be even worse. I'm just be real. The situation out here really would be worse. I think I said earlier there wouldn't be no problems, but I thought about it. I was like, nah. Because it would be worse in the sense of a lot of men just wouldn't get anything. A lot of men wouldn't be getting anything. So I had to change that within this conversation. I was like, nah. If they start really thinking that way, a whole lot of men would be in trouble, even more so. Shit. Hell, that's probably a big issue now with it, you know? So, anyway, I want y'all to think about that, all right? And just accept it, okay? So anyway, I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.